Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Baldwin number 0014 letterbox plate. The plate that I have here for this video is in the 038 finish, or aged brass. The 0014 is a double flap design, where you're going to have flaps on the inside and outside. Here, they're not the same flap, and here's how you can tell the difference. The exterior is a spring-loaded flap and is literally spring-loaded. Spring assembly that you're going to see here. Okay. The interior flap is what they call gravity. Just a gravity flap. There's nothing springing it shut, which is typical. On the inside of a flap, a nice feature of the Baldwin unit is how the metal tapers back out, so that when the mail is folded up and pushed through, it will first of all not be spring loaded, so that it's forcing back down onto the mail and catching anything, and it might tear the mail, is why that it's like this. Okay. Otherwise, they're basically the same sort of principle. Interior gravity, exterior spring loaded. Now, let me give you an idea of the dimensions. And before I do that, this is available in practically all of the common, certainly all of the common finishes from Baldwin. There is a link to the right side when you're adding to cart, or they've been broken out into their constituent finishes separately. But all the common brass, bronze, chrome, nickel, polished satin, oil rubbed, bronze, very common. Variants of bronze like Venetian bronze, satin, brass, and brown. There are swatches, so to speak, below this video showing the different finishes from Baldwin as well. Now, the dimensional properties, and there is a link below this video to a document called Template that will allow you to review those dimensional properties as we go over it. Outside dimension on the width, 13 inch. And that corresponds correctly to the template. The overall height, they have it at 3 9/16. That's basically correct as well. A projection they give, and it's the same on both inside and outside, of a 1/4 inch total projection. Okay. They also give the inside opening, which is 11 9/16 wide, and then 2 13/16 wide. Well, that does not correspond at all to the template. The dimensions are, let's review that closely. What they're actually giving you is the size of the prep that you're going to want in the door at 11 9/16 by 2 13/16, sure. So they don't actually, the template does not give the interior dimensions, but I'll give you that next. So they want 11 9/16 in terms of the width, and you know that is going to correspond really well with the actual requirements. Basically what they're saying is from right about here to the center of my finger out to about here, 11 9/16 will work out real well for a rough opening size. Then the height at 2 13/16 would make sense as well. Okay, so you're going to be large enough to account for the operation, for the pin that's here, that's holding the flap on. Now an inside dimension, and the template is a bit, it just simply doesn't give the information, but let's give it now. Okay, so the inside width, 11 inch, and a usable inside height, going to be closer to about 2 inch. Okay. This is what's called a magazine style, even though Baldwin does not use that term, at least not that I can see. Magazine size and then letter size. letter size is smaller, it's meant for letters. Magazine size, larger, it's meant for magazines, common, typical mail that you would certainly receive. The extended description below this video does give the 11 by 2 inch inside opening, even though it's not called out on the template. Very large opening will accommodate catalogs and small packages, especially designed for use on exposed doors to prevent wind from forcing rain and snow through the slot. Bronze spring keeps the flap tightly closed at all time. Permits vertical installation as well. They say that that is a bronze spring. I don't know what that spring is made of. I would doubt it's bronze. It's not bronze because it's magnetic. So it's a spring. That pin might be bronze or brass. Vertical installation. That spring allows you to install it vertically. Not an uncommon question that we'll get from clients, can I install it vertically? And the answer is yes, you can, is the bottom line. And that spring allows you to do that. A vertical installation of a non-spring flap would certainly permit that to just, come open and stay open. Covered hinging back plate. That's, of course, what we've already discussed. Screws are included in a complementary finish. Those are going to be solid brass screws, so do keep that in mind when you are installing the material. Absolutely be certain that you've pre-drilled the holes correctly. Brass, a very soft material. You're going to want to pre-drill the holes, utterly correct. The guideline, if you're unsure of what that should be, the diameter of the drill bit should be the diameter of the screw when you hold it up against there, less the threads. That works perfectly. Then also make sure that the screwdriver that you use is an utter perfect fit for the screw that you're driving. Do it by hand. Do it carefully. Drill your hole correctly. If you get more than a third or half of the way through and it's become difficult to continue that screw, stop. Pull the screw out, re-drill the hole. This is just a mail slot. It does not need, that screw does not need to be overly tight. You're going to strip and damage the screw, and it will affect the overall professional look of the installation. You'll want to use a router as you are making the preparation in the door, if at all possible. The sleeve that goes along with this is the 0052, so you would cut the hole in the door. A router allows you to make a very clean and accurate, at least a clean and professional looking hole. You might need to square the corners out with a router. That 0052 sleeve can go in so that when you open the flap up, you're not looking at the cut raw inside of the door. If it's a door construction that might be polystyrene or some sort of foam-filled core, you don't want your mail sliding over that. The cut edges of the door, let's say it's a steel-clad door, over time it's just, you'll want to have the sleeve. It will not be the proper sort of look that you want, especially when you're investing in a piece of solid brass, very nice hardware. Now, speaking of solid brass and very nice hardware, that term goes along with Baldwin hand in glove. Baldwin, in my opinion, in my subjective opinion, is reasonably the highest quality mainstream hardware that you'll get for residential and even commercial doors as it pertains to some door hardware, but of course lock sets as well. There are some boutique manufacturers of material, some small companies that make very high-end, very costly material. But dollar for dollar, I feel that Baldwin gives you the confluence of best quality and cost. There are some manufacturers that are probably larger in terms of revenue than Baldwin that bring to the market lower cost material, but in my opinion they do not rival the overall level of quality that Baldwin's solid brass hardware does, especially with their Estates series locks. I have mortise locks that I've installed in the 1990s, and they work like the day that I put them in, and I'm unsure if other lower cost mortise lock residential lock manufacturers can say the same sort of report as it pertains to a long-term sort of installation. The Baldwin material in that Estate section has remained unchanged in terms of the quality of the material, the part number of the lock cases. You can buy parts, you can rekey the cylinders easily. You have a variety of options that can be done, and really what evolves with Baldwin are just the designs. They change with the times. Now, adding to that, there is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page. There is a link to Baldwin's website where you can keep up to date with the current and ever-evolving line of residential and commercial hardware, primarily residential from Baldwin. We don't really try to stay abreast of all of the developments because residential decorative hardware is not our primary focus. When it comes to Baldwin for us, we'll be looking at Baldwin for smaller residential projects, but mostly commercial. Our experience of dealing with Baldwin hardware for decades allows us to understand the product line. And the product line has a bit of a learning curve because with Baldwin you can detail every line of a lock. The trim, the lever, the roses, the finish, the back set, the parts, the dimensional properties, pieces that you might need to accommodate the holes that you've drilled. And that all is daunting when you've not had a lot of exposure to Baldwin. That link to the manufacturer's page with the link to the manufacturer's website, there's also a very helpful link to a document called Baldwin Estate Specifications and Price List 2012-2013. That is an indispensable document because for me it's the document that puts into one interface all of the estates, meaning their top line solid brass hardware as it pertains to locks and other accessory hardware that they have. I'm partial to Baldwin. It's not only because I'm a distributor, it's because I've used personally, sold professionally, installed, serviced, maintained, corrected, fixed, repaired, reinstalled that material for decades. So I can account stories to the quality of the material when someone is going to talk about how nice the material is. I'm partial. It's not only because I'm a distributor, like I said, but I use the products personally as well. If you have any questions on the Baldwin, this is their part number 0014, double flap letter box plate, and this again shown in an 038 or aged brass finish, or any other Baldwin product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you very much.